Hi, welcome to fourth session of Principles of Economics of First BBA, first semester BBA of Mangalore University. The plan. Here we are going to study nature of economics, modern approach to the study of economics. That is microeconomics. Meaning of microeconomics, features, importance, and limitations. In the previous class, we discussed about subject matter of economics. What is the scope? What are the boundary lines? What it actually studies? What are the various topics and contents which are going to be studied in the course of the study of economics are studied in the previous session. They're studied under five different divisions: subject matter of economics, wants, effort, satisfaction, production, consumption, distribution, exchange, economic planning, public finance. Then whether that economics is a pure science or applied science, then whether economics is a positive science or non-mathematical science, then ultimately economics as a social science. This is what we have studied in the previous session. Now the objective, learning objectives of session to give conceptual clarity on various concepts of economics, origin and growth of economics. The entire first chapter deals with the basic introduction to the subject of economics, what was the origin, how that subject of economics developed from time to time, and other things. It also deals with the basic economic principles which help to understand the process of decision making by individuals. Here in this chapter, we are going to deal with basic economic principles which are useful in the process of decision making. Learning outcome. Learner can understand after the study of this first chapter, after the study of this session, the learner can understand different concepts of economics and can apply the same in the real day-to-day economic activities. Learning objective and learning outcome. Both are same for all these sessions of the first chapter. It means the introduction. Just the purpose is to give a broad introduction to the subject of economics. Classical economics, traditional economics divided the subject matter of economics under six heads. As we know, production, consumption, distribution, exchange, public finance, and economic planning. Contrary to that, modern economics divided the entire subject of economics into two parts. They are microeconomics and macroeconomics. As its name spells, microeconomics deals with individual things, whereas macroeconomics deals with aggregate aspects. It's a new approach introduced in 1933. An eminent economist called Ragnar Frisch introduced these two terms, microeconomics and macroeconomics. This is the modern way of studying economics. The traditional approach divides the study of economics under six heads. Modern approach under two heads. Microeconomics and macroeconomics are the modern approaches in the study of economics. It's a new method. In 1933, an economist of eminence called Ragnar Frisch introduced these two terms. Alas, this English is fantastic. Okay. 1933, an eminent economist of eminence means eminent economist Ragnar Frisch introduced these two terms. Okay, not Frisch introduced these two terms. Okay, but this PPT is not prepared by me. That's why all these uh, misappropriations are there. So, what is microeconomics? I doubt whether the the person who prepared this PPT have really studied economics or not. What does the term microeconomics deals with? What it means? Micro, M-I-C-R-O. The word microeconomics is derived from Greek word micros, M-I-K-R-O-S, which means small. That is why microeconomics deals with individual units, individual entities. It's also called the slicing method or partial analysis. Slicing method means just the way in which we are studying the slices, making slices and studying the things. The same approach is adopted in microeconomics. For example, the bread is going to be sliced into small parts. So each part, each slice can be studied individually, separately, independently of others. That is why this method, microeconomics, is also called slicing method. It gives us partial analysis, partial picture. If you look at into that microeconomics at one angle, it gives the picture of that particular angle only. It cannot give a wide angle or the different dimensions. It gives that particular dimension only. That is why K.E. Boulding defined microeconomics as the study of particular firms, particular households, individual prices, wage, incomes, individual industries, particular commodities. Microeconomics deals with or studies is the study of particular firms, individual firm, particular household, one particular household, or one individual price of individual commodity, wage, income, individual industry, particular industry, or particular commodity. See, this approach starts from individual things. That's what it's called microeconomics. Okay, let us proceed to the next topic, that is features of microeconomics. Now, it's the individual study. Microeconomics is going to study economic entities individually, separately, or independent of others. For example, one particular firm, the problems of that firm, economic problems of that firm, is studied separately, independent of other firms, because these problems they differ from industry to industry, individual to individual. As such, you cannot study all these independent units at once. So it's an individual study. Individual study means you are separating it and studying the thing. Maybe individual unit, individual factory, individual firm, individual households, an individual man. In all these cases, we are separating these entities and studying them completely. So that's why it's called individual study. Study of individual aspects. A society consists of large number of people, large number of households and families. You are not going to deal with all these families at once. It is impossible to study the behavior of all firms at once. So that is why we are going for individual study. Taking one particular industry or one particular firm, going for economic analysis, then proceeding to next one like that. So microeconomics is basically individualistic in its approach. Second, it's a partial analysis. As a partial analysis, it gives only a partial picture. It gives or it throws light upon a particular part in the entire entity. If it concentrates on the study of one particular aspect, it studies that particular aspect completely, then proceeds to the next one. That is what's called a partial study. Third one, significance to price. Microeconomics gives primary importance to price determination. That is why microeconomics is also called price theory. How price of a commodity is fixed. What is the process of determination of individual prices? How that the demand for a product and supply of a product interact with each other and fix the price. So it gives primary significance to prices because the fixation of price is going to answer many other subsequent questions. Price determination is going to answer other fundamental issues of the economy such as what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce, etc. That is why maximum significance is assigned to the concept of price. Fourth one, it uses assumptions, it makes use of assumptions. These assumptions are to make our analysis easier one, convenient one. Microeconomics is based on certain assumptions. For example, in case of law of demand, in case of law of demand, other things remaining constant, quantity demanded is inversely related to its price. See, see here other determinants are kept constant. In law of diminishing marginality, we assume that marginal utility of money remains constant. So the entire microeconomics makes certain basic assumptions. These hypothetical assumptions are very essential to develop the theory of microeconomics. Fifth one, price theory. It studies the price theory. Price theory means the process of fixation of price. Generally, price of a commodity is determined by the interaction between demand and supply. That price determined by the interaction between demand and supply is going to guide the entire market. For example, water produce. Water produce. How that price indicates or answers the question what to produce. Price is an indicator now. Price mechanism answers that question what to produce. So if price of a commodity is increasing, if price of a commodity marks or experiences a continuous increase, then it answers that that commodity should be produced. So what to produce? We have to produce that particular commodity of which price is increasing. What not to produce? We should not produce that particular commodity of which price is falling. See why that price increases? Price increases because of increased demand. So when demand for a product increases beyond supply, price increases. So that has to be connected to the increase in the supply. So what to produce? You have to produce that particular commodity which of which price is increasing. So what will be the reason for falling price? Why price falls? Price falls due to excess supply. So what to produce? You should not produce that particular commodity of which price is falling. So microeconomics is also called price theory because it gives primary importance to the process of determination of prices. Then static in nature. Microeconomics is static in nature. It overlooks the influence of time. It overlooks the influence of time and says things remain constant. See, there is no change in time. When time changes, remember that many determinants undergo change. So to avoid that confusion, this assumption, the microeconomics assumes that a static analysis, taste and preferences remain constant, cost of production remains constant, fashion, income of the consumer, all those things remain constant. So that's what is called static analysis. Only when all these conditions are kept constant, then microeconomics works. The last feature is worm's eye view. Microeconomics gives us worm's eye view. Worm's eye view means individual approach, individualistic view. Microeconomics basically deals with individual aspects. As such, it can give only worm's eye view. Importance of microeconomics. Why we need that microeconomics? What are the justification for that microeconomics? One, price determination. For price determination, we have to depend on microeconomics. Prices of individual commodities They differ from each other. So price of each commodity is required to be determined on the basis of the interaction between demand and supply. This has to be studied only with microeconomics because macroeconomics deals with aggregate things. Aggregate things cannot aggregate approach cannot study individual things, individual prices. Second, distribution of resources. Allocation of resources, distribution of resources must be at micro level. It cannot be at macro level. Distribution of resources between firms, distribution of resources between industries, regions, sectors, all those things are required to be addressed with micro approach only. It cannot be attended at macro approach. So distribution of resources may be between industries or firms, between sectors, between regions. In all these cases, remember that we have to study these individual resource, individual sectors, individual regions, or individual firms separately and independently. That is why microeconomics is important for us. Third one, it is the basis for welfare economics. Microeconomics forms the base for welfare economics. So what is welfare then? Attaining maximum welfare, ensuring maximum welfare for maximum number of people is a concern of welfare economics. Ensuring maximum benefit to maximum number of people without making someone worse off. That is called welfare. That is called welfare. Ensuring maximum benefit to maximum number of people. But at the same time, it should not cause inconvenience to others in the economy. That is the basic concern of welfare economics. Then, for formulation of economic models, we need microeconomics in order to formulate economic models. Economic models and principles are required to be formulated by studying individual aspects in mind. Because two different firms may face same problem, but we cannot suggest the same remedy for these two firms. Two firms may face same problem, similar problem, but to solve these similar problems of two different firms, we cannot give same solution. Rather, solution must be highly individualistic and different. So that is why economic models, principles are required to be developed separately and independently. Next, in the analysis of tax problem, microeconomics is also useful in solving the tax problems. What is the problem of the tax? Tax problem is what? In the analysis of tax problem, I think it is maybe no, imposition of tax. Imposition of tax. In the analysis of tax problem, what are the problems of taxation? Impact incidence. Maybe the person who prepared this PPT may be made like that. Okay. So while when the government imposes tax on subjects, it studies the impact and incidence of that tax. Who pays the tax at initial time? Where exactly the tax process ends? For this, you have to have the microeconomics approach. When a government announces a tax, imposes a tax, who pays that tax immediately? Maybe some instead when the government imposes a tax on producer, producer pays the tax. But later on, the same producer is going to collect or transfer that burden on the consumer by increasing the price. Now, at the time of resting, at the time of resting, the tax burden is upon consumer. See, this can be studied only by using that macroeconomics. Then in the theory of international trade, microeconomics is highly useful in international trade theories. Countries go for international trade to enjoy certain benefits and gains. And International trade theories such as Hector-Wolin theory or comparative cost advantage theory. These are all individual theories. The benefit of two countries, how that two countries are going for international trade, what will be the benefit of one country, what will be the benefit of another country, like that. So individual approach is required even to deal with international trade program, because international trade program mainly studies the possibilities and feasibilities of international trade of an individual nation. If India enters into trade agreement with foreign countries, what will be the benefit to India? This cannot generalize and study at a macro level. Lastly, it is useful for linear programming. Linear programming is a part of linear programming is a part of a regression analysis. Straight line function. Linear programming is straight line function. Okay. So microeconomics is useful according to the person who prepared this PPT. Is useful for that linear programming. Okay, this microeconomics, though it's highly useful, it has certain limitations. It has certain drawbacks. So, what are the problems of that microeconomics? One, it is incomplete analysis. No analysis is complete if you are highly individualistic. You need individual approach, but at the same time, you need certain aggregate approaches too. If you are highly individualistic, it will give you only a partial picture. You cannot go for a comparative picture. You cannot have a comparative analysis. Second one, unrealistic analysis. Microeconomics is unrealistic because it's based on unrealistic assumptions. Assumptions upon which that microeconomics is based are highly unrealistic. The static condition, other things remaining constant, no influence of time. These are all unrealistic assumptions because economies live in a dynamic world, ever changing world. Time changes, cost of production changes, technology changes. So in such cases, it's unscientific to assume that nothing changes and everything remains constant and static. Lastly, it has narrow scope. It has narrow scope. Microeconomics has very narrow scope. Only for the study of individual aspects you can use that microeconomics. If you want to study individuals, individual firm, individual society, individual household, then only you can use that microeconomics. But remember that on the basis of that, you cannot formulate any economic theory. For formulation of economic theory, you need aggregate approach. These are all the limitations of that microeconomics. Reference according to the person who prepared this PPT, D. Bose, K.K. Devitt, Krishna Gowda. Apart from these books, there are so many other very good standard books on microeconomics. Please refer such standard books on microeconomics. The term microeconomics is derived from obviously Greek word MIKROS, micros, which means individual, small. Microeconomics is study of micro means small. Microeconomics is called as lumping method, general method, income method, slicing method is the answer because it divides things individually and studies them separately and independently. The word microeconomics is coined by Mill, Ricardo, Karl Marx, Ragnar Frisch. Ragnar Frisch in 1933 used this approach for the first time. One of the important features of microeconomics: individual study, full study, nation study, total study. What are these things? Individual study. Okay, this is regarding the fourth session of Principles of Economics.